So we have a dog that's going to show up behind us, coming from across the street, and he's not going to see it until it pops up. And see where, there he sees the dog. Come! This is what I've been doing. Just practicing his recall. He's excited. There's so many things to pay attention to out here. So don't worry about that. You can just walk her across. So we practice a lot with dogs in public and in other situations, which of course we'll show you. And so dog shows up, he comes my way, good, he gets a treat. But the way that can you go to the end of that shady spot there? We're going to use the shady spot. See, he's going towards that dog. Come, you have that happen. So this isn't to say that he's been bad with other dogs or anything. You can see how he is. Come. He's interested in that little dog. You see how he hesitated for a second? But what did I do? I tapped it. He came my way. I gave him a reward. I was told that in some certain circumstances he wasn't great with other dogs, so that's why we're practicing with all sizes and types of dogs, and dogs that are active like this and excited. Come. Of course, and this is a tough way to call him to come to me because I want you to see it, so I sort of have to do a little circle to show you. But the one type of dog that where all bets are off for a lot of dogs is a dog that's just downright aggressive. So if you meet a dog on the street and that dog has leash aggression, it could trigger him to do the same. So that's why you really do want to practice your recall away from any other dog. I didn't tell him to sit, he just chose to sit there. So every time we see dogs, come, we call him away from them, good. That's the pattern. That's all he's done for weeks and weeks now. He probably doesn't remember ever doing anything else. We've practiced it so many times with so many different dogs in so many different situations. And what you end up with, since the recall calls him away, he turns his back on that distraction, the dog comes towards you, gets paid. You see how I'm doing it? It's left hand leash, and this is the way you're always walking him, of course. Left hand leash, loose leash, right hand reward. Come. Good. Call him away from any dog we see. See, the reward is always in the target hand closed. That way, in an emergency, there's no leash, there's no treat. Make your target. Come. He has no idea it's empty. Good, because you practice this way with a reward when you could practice the right way. In an emergency, he'll still come to this always. And of course, you're going to do, when you call him, come, good, grab the leash, or if there's no leash, collar. So he's really used to that whole sequence. He comes, his nose touches that, you say good, you pet him, you grab the leash or grab the collar, and that's just what he's used to. And it will work even when there's no leash and no treat because of the way you practiced, like this. And we're going to practice with a number of other dogs as well. We're going to have another dog showing up from somewhere else now, and just show you another dog in a on the street situation, real life situation. Somebody's going to be walking him, whether it's a foster home or his new adopted home when he gets adopted. So this is how you always want to hold the leash. You're walking him, it's always loose. Put it over your left hand so that your hand is free, and that way, even if you turn away, it can't come off and you can't lose him. And then you always have come. You got that come command, good boy, and that was no treat, but it still enables you to be under control of him at the slightest moment. This time, come, there is a treat this time. Good, so you always practice with a treat so that when you use this without a treat, it always works, you always get him out of trouble, and you want him to have that instantaneous recall, like a reflex. You say it, he comes to you, you see how I'm backing away? It's so much better than standing still. If you're not practicing come and backing away, it's half of the thing, because when you back away, the dog is drawn to you. When you stand still, it's not half as good. So anybody practicing come, you have to back away because it draws him to run to you, which is the kind of recall everybody wants. I know we're about to get snuck up on. He hasn't seen that dog yet. So always back away when you practice. He'll just keep getting better and better. Whoever, now he sees the dog. As you can see, he's non-reactive to dogs out on the street on a leash. But and we have more distractions showing up. That's great. But you want to keep this up. Whoever takes him from here, if they don't do the things we're doing on this video in the presence of distractions, other dogs, and the training, he'll slide back into old behaviors. Whatever he was doing before he came here was not good, because that's what I was told he was sent here for. So now he has some solid stuff, but you have to keep doing this so that that bad stuff never comes back. And unfortunately, whatever behaviors are learned first are learned best, and so they'll always come back if you're not practicing the training for a while. But over time, you don't have to worry so much anymore, because if he hasn't practiced those inappropriate behaviors to situations for a while, then eventually they die off. But still, the next people that take him from me, you have to keep this up for a while, at least for a few months. Be on top of it for sure. So we have this dog here, but why don't you just let him be free, but not come over to us, but just walk around over there, stay in the shade. And we're kind of having a problem with him even wanting to look at a dog. Come. Good. And we'll just get a recall or something away from. This is another excitable dog. Come. You can see we're not having an issue, and a lot of it's because of also consistent, proper leash handling, which is, these are the don'ts, okay? The don'ts are, you don't do this, you don't, see that tight leash is your enemy. Tension on the leash creates stress in the dog and can create leash aggression and overstimulation, which can create problems. Doing this kind of stuff, very bad. Has nothing to do with training, because you're restraining the dog, right? So all that hold the dog close to you is kind of silly, because that means you don't have training if you have to hold on tight. So it's a loose leash, but we taught him a come command. So if we don't want him to go somewhere, formerly you would have restrained him. You don't have to now. You just say, come. And he comes back to you, good, away from dogs or whatever the distractions are. And you do that enough times, you practice that pattern enough times, so that that becomes what happens naturally, and he'll literally turn away from the dog in a lot of situations, because we practice it that much now. So you want to keep doing that so it gets better with whoever takes him next. Also, the tight leash is very bad. Any kind of this, wrapping your hand up, just really be careful that you're not doing this stuff, because you'll make it all come back and all this training will go to hell. So loose leash, use the training, be calm, do exactly what I'm doing on the video. It's a tap, it's a tap. So if I say, come, good. Tap and release, tap and release. If he's starting to pull, you tap and release and he stops. See, it's almost effortless. There's no muscle involved, but it is a little bit of, you have to be focused in the moment and stop doing what you were doing before. Also staring plus leash tension like that by the handler, but him staring can cause overstimulation and lead to aggression. So you handle both of those things by handling the leash differently, and say if he starts to look at something or somebody, come, and you call him away. Good. He does not want to face that dog, which is good. He actually wants to go to Home Depot, which is across the street. He loves to go to Home Depot and practice, which you'll see later on in the video. That's why he doesn't want to come back to me, but he still is. So you see how to do that. It's really important that whoever does this after me follows these rules, or else all that stuff will come back, unfortunately. So stay focused and keep using the training, and he'll just keep getting better. So this is what will happen to you on the street. Somebody will be walking their dog and coming towards you. Come. You want to call him to you and see how he comes to me. I grab the leash with my left hand. I turn into him. And you could go, keep coming, and walk past us, okay? So you're showing me, right? Keep going. Just keep going. And then you go like this and continue on with your walk. That would be the safest thing for anybody to do, because that way nothing bad happens. Come, and this is a super jumpy, overactive dog that could trigger a dog, another dog easily. So I'm gonna let him go back that way. So go ahead and go back on the other side now. Keep going. and then you stay there, and I'll go back here. So this is a really active dog that any dog that ever had even a little bit of leash overstimulation with another dog would be this way with this dog, because this dog, so stay in the shade. So that's why we're practicing with this dog, because it's not an easy dog for Rex to handle. But as you can see, turns away, gets rewarded. Good, I say good. And we're not using anything super special. We're just using, in this case, they're just like chips of lamb chips. But you can use, as long as it's a high value reward. You want to use chicken breast, use chicken breast. You want to use something of really high value, but that would only be given to him in the presence of his problems. So you're not going to give him chicken breast for sitting at doorways or whatever. You're going to save the chicken breast for the big problem, which is distractions with other dogs and major distractions. And it actually doesn't need treats at all for sitting, because he's done it a million times and he knows how to do that. So you always phase the food out for things that he knows really well, and that's how the training gets better. You get it, you practice something, he learns it, you give treats for a few weeks for that, and you phase them out, and they get better, because then you use the treats for the next challenge and the next challenge. Everything, once he knows it really well, you phase the treats out, and the training gets stronger. If you keep giving the treats for sit for months, over time they only do it when they're hungry. So there is a bit of an art to using treats. It's about how you do it that matters, of course. The other thing is timing. Come. Good. Simultaneously, everything happens at once, so that when I have nothing, come, comes my way. Good, no treat, but he gets the love and the pets. Barely misses the treat because I plugged in the good and the pet at the same moment he got the treat. Treat goes away. He still has a great feeling about that word good, and better feeling about being petted. So you phase the treats out, and the training gets better, because then they're just doing it because of the love of doing that for you, because you trained them the right way. So don't stick with the treats for too long. Once he's perfect at something, phase the treats out. Okay, we're going to do another exercise with a dog here. This is the barkiest, most active dog we have. I'm going to pull this closer. Go to your mat, down. So another way to desensitize a dog to another dog is by practicing ever increasing closer down stays and sit stays to like a dog that's barking at a fence or whatever they're doing. And maybe you want to start out good and then rewarding for looking away. You want to start out with a dog that's easy, that'll just stand there, and then which we did, and then we worked up to dogs that bark and jump around, and she might be a little tired now, but she usually is. And we're next to a horse stable, so we have flies here. He gets excited, doesn't want flies to land on his butt. Good, so we're gonna make this short, but this is basically what we're doing, practicing downstays while he's next to other dogs. Good boy. I always make sure that I work on both sides. Okay, because if we're always just having him with a dog to his right, he'll sit, he won't be so good on his left side. Go to your mat, down, and then, so we do on both sides. And on a regular day, I do it longer, but I don't need to. Just showing you how it works real quickly, because the flies are bugging him, horse flies. And hey, right here. And then, okay, releasing him. And of course the dog disappeared to get water, so dog's not even there now, but okay, let's do a sit stay, and she'll come back. Sit, even closer sit stay. And she's probably going to start barking like she usually does again. Just practicing basic sit stays and down stays in the presence of another dog. He's sliding on the ground. Nope, okay, let's go. Let's finish this the right way. See, I slipped out of his sit stay, so I just reset him in a sit stay. We're just going to finish this sit stay really quickly. You can see he's not reacting to the barking dog. Nope, not reacting to the barking dog. And gets a reward for that. Good. And then waits to be released. Go. And you do this kind of stuff, and you have a non-reactive dog to barking dogs. Never corrected him, didn't correct him once, just practiced. I started way over there, doing down stays and sit stays. Gradually, we're closer and closer. Also practiced a lot of calling him to come away from other dogs in the street. And this is what you end up with. You end up with a dog that only pays attention to you, that literally will start to ignore and turn away from a dog that barks like this because of doing these exercises. See this? He looks away. Good. He gets rewarded. So it's a new behavior pattern. To notice this is an involuntary reaction. Dog barks, he has to look, but to choose to turn away is a new learned behavior pattern, and you always want to feed that. But feed it when he looks away, he gets fed, and it gets stronger and stronger then. Okay, let's go. Here we go. Okay. It's such a hot day today, and we're trying to do training out on the street, so I'm only going to do it in a shady spot. This is basically the curb, a curb, and this is what we do with him at every curb. So on free time, when he is walking on the sidewalks, basically it's free time, and then I call him to come to me, have him sit at a curb. We do this walk around sit stay, and I allow him to walk out in the street with me, and we're going to do it really quickly as soon as this guy passes by. And okay, we're going to cross the street, we're crossing the street, and then on the other side of the street, let's go for the shady spot here. Sit. And go. He's free, and more free time. And so, keep following me and filming. So, when we're walking after he's, been released, the walk should be a relaxing thing that you do with your dog, of course. So you're not in a dog show. You're not constantly training all the time. You actually are here though, because you're keeping the leash loose. If he pulls on the leash, you're going to tap him, and that stops him from pulling. You also have come. You got that. Good boy. And sit. And you could do training. You put him in, you call him back to come to you. You put him in sit mode. Now he's in work mode. And you can say down. And you could work a little on the street, or you could just okay, have him sit and then go, release him. And he's free until you come to the next curb. So most of the time that you're walking him, when you're just walking him on a sidewalk, is free time. He can sniff, he can pee, he can relax, and then just call him back to come, put him in work mode every time you cross the street. And it's a great way to give him enough structure during that walk, but still plenty of free time so he can enjoy the walk, so you're not always doing training constantly, which wouldn't work well anyway. Okay. I'm going to show you just the basic obedience here in a public place. Sit. So we never repeat the command. If he ignores your command to sit, you just pull up with a little bit of pressure. Stay is built into sit, so you don't have to say stay. We've never said stay. But if I say sit, he knows that he waits. If I step away from him, see how he popped up because all these people were walking past, and he put himself back, which is really good. He gets a reward for that because good. It means he's thinking. So he would initially just lose focus and pop up and not have any stay, like all dogs do when they're not taught what stay means. In this case, he got surprised by those two guys walking past really quickly and popped up and then put himself back, which is great. But this is the way you would practice a sit stay anywhere. And when he does it correctly, when he does it successfully, the only way you reward him is he's waiting for you to come back next to him, eye contact, straight down as he's looking at you in the eyes, good, and say good as you reward him. A very powerful way to reward him from a sit. Not this. You're really wasting a lot of energy and kind of squandering a chance to make him really always want to be looking at you by not rewarding him, being above him. And And see how it's getting a little bit scary for him? So I was talking, or if I wasn't talking, I would have said no and just, see, I applied a little pressure and he went back. But it got a little crazy here all of a sudden with all these carts and people everywhere. So you always want to make sure you reward from a sit exactly like that. And then all of a sudden the cart brigade showed up from everywhere. So when you want to release him, your right hand taps his chest and says, go. And he's free. Down. Now we're practicing our down. And once again, you never repeat the command. You're only practicing on leash when you do practice, because you want to use a leash so you're assured of 100% success. Off-leash dogs are very well trained, and he could become off-leash if you practiced enough. It doesn't just happen in a few weeks of training, but the only way that you get to off-leash is by practicing on leash, so that if for some reason he doesn't do it in a stressful situation, so you can gently but firmly reinforce that command. For example, with down, if he hadn't done it, I wouldn't have repeated it. You never repeat the command. I just would have eased him down with my left foot, and still all he would have known would be he heard the command once and somehow he ended up there. So you're always practicing on a leash so that the training gets better and better, and maybe someday you will have off leash if you care to practice that much. Good. See how I rewarded him? Put the little reward down in front of him. He took it off the ground. Stay is built into down. You don't say stay once again. To do hand signals and funny noises and say stay, stay, stay all the time is a waste of your time. And actually, the less you say, the better. The less hand signals, the better. The less funny noises. No contraptions, devices, squirt things, or whistles, or special harnesses, or any of that kind of stuff are just gimmicks. All he's got on is a nice little training collar, and you can see that we're never correcting, never causing him pain. So really, the whole concept is less is more. You have a leash, so you only say things once. See, this is going to go really close to him. Good. He gets rewarded. That's a big distraction for most dogs. They'll pop up as something rolls with wheels close to him. So we've obviously practiced a lot. And it's great that he can do this, but really we're after the byproduct of being able to do these solid sit stays and down stays in the presence of distractions. The byproduct is you release him out of this, and every time we practice, he's a little bit calmer. Stabilizes him, builds a deeper level of focus in the dog, and that enables him to handle other things in his life that would trigger him to be inappropriate and kind of, get to his breaking point. There's a little dog in a cart there. So we're basically building a fuse. Oh no, we're actually filming right now. Good. So what we're doing is we're gradually building up this fuse to where he can handle more and more and more and more. So it helps with dogs too, because now at the very least, a dog that he would have been triggered by in the past before the training, now you've got some time to call him to come to you or to get him out of there, or whatever you're going to do. So he can handle it longer and longer and longer. And over time, good, you keep practicing like this, and there is no problem anymore because the fuse gets so long, it just doesn't do that stuff anymore. So that's why we're practicing so carefully with these down stays and sit stays, because we're after what it does for him, changes him 24/7, just makes him a calmer, happier, more stable dog. Because focus and thinking stabilizes the dog and makes them calm at their core. So I'm going to say, okay, and sit, and see how we released him out of the, why don't you go ahead? See how we released him out of the down by saying, okay, and then sit. Oh, they're leaving. Okay, I want to get his tail out of the way. Sit. So they could have gone this way, but anyway. instead of releasing him out of a down, just like, okay, and he jumps up and gets, see, that was my fault, poor guy. And he gets excited. If you say the okay word and then he stands up and you say sit, now we get to release him from a calm sit stay, and it's so much easier to release him calmly in a calm way. See how my hand is right there? See how he's really waiting? I'm never restraining him. He's really waiting until I tap his chest and say, go. And see what a calm release that is? It's really the details here are what's so important. You have to release him calmly. If you're doing, like you may have seen happen before, where the dog's in a down and everybody goes, okay, and everybody starts going, good, good, and the dog jumps around, gets excited, you just destroyed any calmness that you were trying to develop. So you want to release him calmly so he keeps that calmness in him that you developed in that downstay, and it continues on and keeps growing. So calm release is very important, and you see me do that, throughout this video. But this practicing out in different public places where there's a lot of stuff going on helps him with his other issues as well. So it all ties in together. Okay. I want to break down step by step how I'm practicing the recall with Rex. And it's very simple if you just do it the same way every time. Actually, the steps are way less than you normally would use. If you're walking him and you saw how I handle him already out on the street, you just have this loop over your left hand and you keep that leash loose. If he pulls, you're going to tap him, or you can say, and I'll even not use any treats, come. He doesn't know, good boy, that's empty. Just make sure you love him up when you do that. But when you first start practicing, like I did for the first 3 weeks or so, I always had a treat. So I called him to me hundreds of times with the treat, and that just put that in as a pattern. And now I still use a treat if I call him to come, but he'll come to me no matter what because I'm calling him to this closed target. So make sure you're always just handling him this way. You don't have to do this, and you don't have to grab the leash and do all that. It's really about doing less, do way less. It's so easy. So left hand leash, if I want to call him away from a dog or something else, right hand reward, come, got a little treat here, back away, good. You see how I grabbed the leash with my left hand? And at the same moment he touched his nose, touched this, and I opened it up and I said good. So it's very simple, and you could call him to you and then always step into him, as you always see me doing, stepping in throughout the videos. Like dogs coming this way, step into him, go that way. I always turn left because when you turn left, it always draws the dog back next to you. If you turn right and you drag him around, you're going to be dragging him around. But the beauty of going left for a number of weeks and practicing like that is, this will pass by in a second. The beauty of that is that then he's next to your side, and you'll find that later on, if you want to practice a bunch of right turns for whatever reason, there's really no reason to, but if you did, he's going to be a lot easier to do right turns with as well, because he's just used to always being next to you. But there's no reason, especially for Rex, that for a while that you never do anything other than left turns. If I want to go right, okay, go right. It's a very dominant move, and it's a safe, dominant move that makes every dog feel safe. Okay, every dog feels like somebody's taking care of them. You're always turning into him, and you see it's just almost effortless. If I'm going to turn, I tap him and I turn, and it's just like this. And turn, tap, and turn. So to slow him down, you tap and you turn. So you see how it just keeps him next to you, and it's one of the things that would lead to off leash. There's never any tension on the leash, and he just ends up walking next to you all the time if you practice always turning left no matter where you go. And it also makes the dog feel safe with you. He feels safe with you and confident that you're taking care of him because of your body language. then he's not going to feel like he has to guard you like an object when another dog runs up. So it all ties in together. The recall is left hand leash, right hand reward. Come, back away, because when you back away, I'm gonna run closer to you. Good. When you back away, sit, draws the dog to you. You stand still, it's not half as good. And if you move towards the dog, so many dogs will actually try to get away from you and you'll have to chase them around. So much of this is all about body language. Go. So always use those concepts when you call him away from distractions or when you're practicing. One of the things you can do to practice is take a treat in your hand. Hey buddy, look. And go. Come. Call him away from distractions. Good. And you make the distraction. Maybe there's nothing around for him that he cares about. Maybe he's just staring at you lovingly and you have to create your own distractions. So just toss a treat. Go. Come. Call him away from it. Good. You can do that in your backyard, in your hallway, or wherever, different places, wherever you want to practice. And you can practice your recall. Notice also one last thing. When I'm practicing this, I always call him away from something. I never call him to me when he's looking at me, because that's never anything that we need. We need him to respond to that command, turn away from whatever he's interested in, and come running back to us. So get him at least to be paying attention to a treat and let him grab it, but he's still turning away when he grabs it, and then call him back to you. So always practice calling him with those rules. Back away when you call him to come. Use the right hand target. Left hand leash, right hand target. And always call him when at least he's looking away from you. Come. Even that. Good. Just make sure that he always has to turn around and come back to you, because then when you need it in a crisis situation in real life, you'll have it because of the way you practiced. Okay. All right, let's go.